Hello y'all, it's your girl Vimbo, and I am back with another Teacher Talk Sunday. And this week we are talking all about some questions you should be asking yourselves at this halfway point in the year if you are a teacher. So let's jump right in. Hello again, it's your girl Vimbo. Hopefully you are watching this if you are a teacher and you're watching this in real time. Hopefully you're watching this over break and you are on your winter break, and hopefully you're having some time to just reflect on how the school year has gone so far and just really relax as well. If you haven't already, please watch my last video where I give some really solid advice about some suggestions about how to spend your winter break. But my own experience, having been a classroom teacher at the elementary level for a number of years, and then also being an elementary school principal for 5 years, I just wanted to share what I learned in my almost decade working in education about just how you can set yourself up for success in the future. And I think mid-year is a great time to reflect. I think at the beginning of the school year, things are kind of crazy, whether you start in August or September. And obviously this is based on like the US schooling calendar, but typically schools in the United States start in August and September. And the beginning of the school year is like, you're so nervous, there's so much going on, it's just a lot. So that may not be the best time to reflect on stuff. And then the end of the year is also equally as crazy because there's so much to do to wrap up stuff. People are leaving your district. You may be leaving your own school or school district to go to another job and teach in another position. You may be switching grade levels for the next school year. And so the end of the year is also kind of a little bit hectic. So I would recommend, if you're able to, doing like a self check-in. I would say definitely halfway through the year, or if at all possible, perhaps sometime in the spring, because I think that is super helpful to help you build the educational career and position that you would desire. So my first thing that I would implore you to think about is where you might want to be in the next 5 years. And so what I mean by that is, if you are a classroom teacher right now, perhaps you've taught a couple of different grades, and let's say you really, really, really have loved teaching second grade. And I really did love teaching second grade. So that was the first grade that came to my mind. Thinking about, okay, would I like to in 5 years still be teaching second grade if that's what you're doing right now? Or would I like to be writing curriculum for second graders? Or would I like to be an administrator? Or would I like to be an instructional coach for other second grade teachers? And you may not know where you want to be in 5 years. Life is different. I know when I started being an educator, I was a single person, and at the end of my educational career, I was married, and you have different considerations as your life and your family life changes. However, you may have an idea of where you want to go. So the first thing I would really implore you to reflect on is, where would you like to be in your future? And I think that will really help you reflect on the second point, which I would encourage you to think about, which is, what would you need to get there? So my journey is, I started as a teacher, I became a teaching principal, and then I was able to transition into administration 100% of my job. And so I, in my mind, had a more ideal transition in some ways, a tougher transition in some ways. I do think it's very hard to have administrators who also teach. However, that was just my personal experience. But if you would like to be an administrator, the reason, number two, you have to think about what it'll take is, I have my master's degree in K-12 leadership and administration. I got it from a university, which made it because of the program in that university, it made it very easy to get certification in various states. So I am actually still a certified principal in Florida. It's not expired yet. And in Washington State, it's not expired yet. Even though I never served as principal in Washington State, I did get it there, and life just happened and things changed. But I am certified in a couple of states, and we don't even live in either of those states at this time. But I'm saying all of that to say, if you do have a desire to go into administration, you might want to start thinking about what leadership opportunities you can take at your school currently. So perhaps you could, into the next school year, say, hey, I want to be a team lead, or hey, I want to be, whatever the case is, just moving into a more administration adjacent position. And that could open doors and connections, and you working with people more. That'll just put you on people's radar, because oftentimes, especially in public schools, I worked in primary schools or in private schools exclusively, but I do know, as someone who's gone to like public schools myself, whenever we got like new principals in elementary or high school when I was a student, they were people like our gym teacher became our principal. So typically schools prefer to hire internally if they can, in my experience, limited, but whatever the case is, position yourself in positions that will help give you experience about what it looks like to be an administrator in your district or in your school system. And then also make sure you're getting the qualifications to become that position. And in this day and age, I did my master's degree almost entirely online. I had a couple of in-person intensives, but basically like the majority of it was online. And I mean, now it's way more common because of COVID for programs to be online. So just make sure, if you're doing administration, this is what I can speak to, make sure you're getting a degree that your certification will lead you to be able to be certified in the state that, like, your degree, because not all administration programs meet all the requirements of the majority of states. And you just ask the program, say like, upon graduation, will I be able to then apply for principalship in my state? And I had two options for a university I could go to get that degree, and I chose the one that would better equip me to just walk right out with that degree and become a certified principal. So that's my advice. If you want to go into curriculum, I know people who write curriculum now because, you know, they decided being in the classroom, while they love it, it was just a little bit much for them. And so you can also get a master's degree in your specific content area that can make you an instructional expert. And so just explore your options and consider what it'll take to get you to that next step. The third thing I would ask you to consider reflecting on as you are halfway through the year is how you can try softer or be gentler. And I'm borrowing that phrase from the author Andy Colbert. If you watch one of my recent videos, I talk about books that I recently read this year. And she is a therapist, and she writes about how we often think when we face challenges in life, we need to try harder and push harder. And actually, our body doesn't respond very well to that. You can't keep going at the pace you're probably going at. If you're an educator watching this, there's a chance you might be feeling more than a little burned out at this point of the year. And so I would ask you and implore you, ask yourself, how can I try softer in this half of the school year? And I do recognize not everyone's halfway through the year, depending on when you started. We're about there, regardless of what system you're in. So just asking yourself, like, what can I quit? What can I do less of? What can I be a participant of versus an organizer for? And obviously, you've answered questions 1 and 2, where you want to be in the future. And so now, anything that's not really working towards those goals, perhaps you let go of some of this other stuff, just so you have space to breathe. Teaching and being in education is more of a marathon and less of a sprint. And you know, you have those 180 school days, which is the average school year in the United States. So you just want to make sure that you finish well, right? Like, not strong, not on the top of the mountain, but you just want to finish well and be gentle to yourself. So ask yourself, like, what after school things are you doing that bring you life? Keep doing more of those. What after school things are you doing that drain your life? Maybe figure out ways to cut those out of your life. What weekend obligations do you have that are no longer serving you? I think if you work on these 3 things and you reflect on where it is you want to be, what does it take to get there? And then how can you eliminate things that are draining you? I think you can possibly have a better end to the school year being intentional about those 3 areas. So whatever the case is, I wish you a wonderful holiday season, and I hope this sprinkled a little bit of sunshine in your life, and I hope you go and sprinkle a little bit of sunshine in someone else's life this week and this holiday season. Bye now.